Hi, everybody. I'm back again. Um, and this is as close. Sorry, Twitch. There you go. You can kind of see like the tip of the tail. Wow. Anyway, thank you for joining in. Pardon me, for those of you who this is your first time, my name is Beth Wagner, and I am currently reading my dad's manuscripts. And I'm also, as I read them, I am doing live edits. So you'll see me duck my head down and I might stop talking for a little bit. And then that's your cue to kind of nudge me. I don't know. I'll try and keep it brief. Try not to stop talking for too long anyway, because I don't want to hold up everything. But at the same time, I do need to mark them up so that I can edit and publish. Yay! Um, yeah, pretty much everything. The story is a fantasy novel. I mostly my dad wrote mostly fantasy, and there's some science fiction in there as well. Um, so I typically that's what I'll be reading. So if you like fantasy, you like hearing people stumble over words and bumble around trying to tell a story, then you've come to the right place. So without further ado, I'm going to be going into chapter 5 of the Saga of Haram. And not, if you see the title, it's Haram, not Harem. Totally different story. Anyway, without further ado, here is chapter 5 of the Saga of Haram. Haram fumbled another stone into his sling, knowing the futility of it. At the same moment, Oritz gave a loud shout and lunged forward, burying his blade up to the hilt in the ogre's back. The ogre straightened, whirled, and swung its club. Oritz jumped back out of the way. The force of the swing apparently threw the weakened monster off balance. It fell forward and sideways, crashing to the ground. Oritz stepped forward and hacked twice at the thick neck, beheading the ogre on the third blow. That done, he rushed over to where Asteran lay. Haram joined him as swiftly as possible, and Oritz was bellowing, "Sagahan! Mage, come here! She still lives!" A moment later, they were all gathered around her, the three backing away a little to give Sagahan room to kneel down. Well, demanded Oritz, "I'm not Mage. She is sorely hurt, and I've used much of my power already. I believe I can save her, but it'll require quite an effort on my part. Such an effort that I'll likely have to sleep for half a day after. She herself will require much rest. It would be best if we were to move our camp somewhere near here for the time being. Haram, Merritt, you hear the mage. Go fetch our gear from the camp, and I'll begin making a fire and the like." Haram was a little startled. Oritz rarely called him by name. It was usually boy or boys. They set off, however, leaving Sagahan sitting cross-legged beside Asteran, eyes half closed, breathing deeply. When they returned with their gear and the pony, Sagahan was slumped on the ground beside Asteran. Oritz was standing watch over them. "What happened?" asked Haram. "The mage has healed her, and in doing so has used up so much of himself that he is asleep. And I've been waiting for you two to return so we can carry them to our new camp." The new camp was not far away, just far enough, as Oritz put it, that we need not have a dead ogre for a bed companion. When they had settled the two into their bedding, Oritz held up a leather pouch. "I took this off the body of the ogre. I doubt that it contains anything worthwhile, but let us look." Opening it, he poured the contents into his hand. There were 3 bright golden coins, golden crowns of Eridar. so called because they had a crowned head stamped on one side, with a griffin holding a banner on the other side. There were also a handful of what looked like marbles. What are those things? Merritt asked, pointing. Just what they seem, boy. Marbles. Marbles? In an ogre's pouch? Why? The warrior looked at Merritt. You will learn, boy, that ogres are in general unintelligent creatures, for all that they are shaped like men or goblins. But do not count on that, for there will always be one or two who can think as well as any man. And in any case, ogres tend to like bright colored or shiny things. Sometimes things merely catch their attention for no reason that a man can fathom. Be like he merely fancied the smoothness of the marbles. Where would he come by marbles? Asked Hiram. Where do you think? Hiram grimaced and tried not to think of some child faced with a huge monster swinging a tree limb. He could only hope that the boy had died quickly. As he had promised, Sagahan slept for a half a day, and Asteran woke about the same time. For a time, she could remember nothing and no one, but eventually her memory began to return, though she never did recover any memory of anything that happened after they left the town of Vaskapadan. It was a further hour from the time she awoke before she was able to stand up. When she could stand, one of the first things she said was, Why are we lollygagging around here? Don't we have an ogre's lair to search? As they went, Horace explained to the boys the habits of ogres in, in regard to treasure. It is the habit of ogres to take their prey and bring it back to their dens, eating it there. If the prey happens to be human, and it happened to be carrying pouches or packs or the like, the ogre might not open them after eating, might set them aside to be opened later, or might forget about them altogether. And since what a man might consider trash might be attractive to an ogre, or vice versa, valuable things might be dropped on the floor and trodden into the ground. In order to search for treasure in an ogre's lair, therefore, a person must go in with a torch to light the dimness and spend as much time as possible turning over the trash in the corners, picking up what looks valuable, and also picking up whatever packs, pouches, wallets, or other containers have not yet been opened. Have not yet been opened. Their lair itself was a dim cave beneath an overhang of rock, full of the acrid stench of an ogre and the worst stench of rotting flesh. They made several trips inside, picking up anything that seemed like worth a second look. When the stench finally drove them outside, they would spend a while scrutinizing things picked up and opening containers to see what they contained. After the last trip inside, the venturers sat down to see what they had. For the first time since they joined the band, Harum and Merritt saw gold in the treasure they'd gained. They even had occasion to handle some of it, finding coins in some of the pouches where they were searching. At one point, Harum heard Merritt say, What is this thing? Some kind of copper amulet? Since he was busy at the moment trying to decide if the necklace he held was silver with a gem set in it, or merely tin with a false jewel, Harum did not look up until he heard Sagahan say, Let me see that. Something in the voice of the mage caught Harum's attention. Merritt was holding a flattened piece of copper, about as large as the palm of his hand, and on it were some kind of marks. Harum could not read, even the usual runes of Eridar, but he could see that these marks were different. Sagahan inspected it, turning it over and over in his hand, and at last said, Boys, if ever you find such a thing, a flattened sheet of copper with writing on it, tell me immediately. Is it valuable? Asked Merritt. To the right person, it's very valuable. What is it? I will tell you later, after we've dealt with the rest of this. Remind me if I should forget." When they had finished sorting out the treasure, they found they had 83 gold crowns, as well as 5 other gold coins with a picture of a man wearing a turban on one base, while on the other was rearing a horse. They also had 107 silver ponies, along with the 12 silver coins of a sort Harem had never seen, and 256 copper coins. In addition to this was a finely worked brooch of gold set with what appeared to be diamonds. Asteran looked over this carefully and declared, "This will probably be worth 5 times as much as the rest put together. Of course, when we sell it, we'll be fortunate to get half its value." The rest looked around at each other. Be like they were not rich, but they were much closer to being rich than they had been before. A moment After a moment, Oryx spoke. "So let that be a lesson to all of us. 9 times out of 10, when one loots an ogre's lair, one finds nothing more than a handful of silver ponies, if that. But on the 10th time, the 10th time is like this." A little while later, Sagahan told the boys a story. Years and years ago, in another age of the world, there was a magician in the name of Drumnadum. Drumnadrum. Drumnadrum. He was a person of great knowledge, and he had discovered a secret to prolonging his life. He found, however, that his books and scrolls suffered from time, even if he himself did not. In order to spare himself from having to spend all the days of his prolonged life recopying his magical books and scrolls, he set about finding methods to preserve them. After some time and experimentation, he hit upon the method of inscribing them on thin sheets of copper and fastening these sheets into books. No one is entirely certain, but it is thought there was a war, and war can take even artificially prolonged lives. Cities, nations, and peoples fell in that war. Drumnadrum himself died. Some of his books, however, survived. Occasionally, people would come upon thin sheets of copper with strange runes carved upon them. You will see today people using these pieces of copper as amulets to bring good luck. Some years ago, a sage bent his mind to the deciphering of the runes. He learned how they read, and actually learned the language of the copper sheet, thus disguised source of knowledge. Since that time, many have been searching for the copper sheets in the books, and they have been seen in widely scattered places. One of the pieces of copper, as such as we have found, is worth a little money. A full sheet would be worth enough to keep us all for about a year. Several sheets, particularly if they are in sequence, would make us wealthy. And if we were to find a whole book, why, we'd never do anything again for the rest of our lives. He paused and looked around at them. "So, as I have said, be watchful. If you ever see anything such as this, let me know. And if you ever hear of a copper book, tell me." When they had when they went back to the villagers stared at them with some suspicion. Harem knew without having to be told that the villagers were expecting them to come back falsely claiming to have killed the ogre, or be like claiming to have killed the ogre and hiding the true amount of his treasure in order to collect their wages from the village as well. Excuse me. The 3 veterans, however, appeared to pay no attention to the expressions of the villagers. Orist greeted them cheerily and said, "Well, we have met the ogre and slain him, and the treasure in his lair was more than the few silver ponies I had expected. We will therefore not be requiring payment from you. We have only come to tell you that you need have no fear of the ogre any longer." The village headman, still wary, said, Congratulations to you, then. On behalf of myself and the village, we offer you our hospitality for the next few nights. He hid his relief, though not well, when Oryx said, "No, one night only. Then we must be going." He pressed him no further when Oryx said, "No, one night only. We must be traveling again in the morning." Before they left Bas Capitan, Oryx bought two short swords. Hiram, though he did not let on, was sure that this was proof that they had been accepted by the group, or at the very least were quite close to acceptance. Now, instead of sticks, the two used swords, or trained them in drills, series of blows and parries to be done in order for so long as they could manage to stand upright. He had come to be approving, though sparingly, of their progress with the sticks, but now he was once again unsatisfied with their ability with the swords. In addition, Sagahan began to teach them the runes of Eridar, both reading and writing. It may help, he said, on the odd time to know whether the label on a vial claims to be a potion of invisibility or a poison. They finally came to the city of Yathhar, where it was planned to spend some days in resting and buying fresh supplies before they left again. They found rooms at an inn. Then Oryx looked at Sagahan and Asteran. "You will guard my armor and belongings again?" Asteran nodded curtly. "And don't think to buy any drink with promises. I would like to buy horses for all of us before we leave." Oryx nodded with equal curtness and began to strip off his armor. Asteran turned to Haram and Merritt. "You two might also wish to have some money to spend. You can have 10 silver ponies each, and if you're too drunk to come with us in 3 days, we leave without you." "On 10 silver ponies?" muttered Merritt, but softly enough so Asteran did not hear him, or at least was able to pretend she did not. They took their money and went out. One of the first things they did was to buy sweet buns at the baker's shop nearby. They then roamed around the market to see what there might be to buy. The market was full of sights and sounds of a market. Fruit sellers, bakers, leather workers, rug sellers, calling out the superiority of their wares. There were wine sellers, jugglers, storytellers, pipers, and all the sounds and colors of a market in general. The choices were so broad that they ended by spending nothing. Finally, Haram said, "Enough! We have 3 days here, and there is a bed back at the inn which, though it be no more than a straw mattress, is likely softer than anything which I slept on for many months. I'm going to rest, and belike tomorrow I shall find a way to spend some of my 10 silver ponies." Merritt, on the other hand, was not yet weary, and decided to walk around and see a little more of the city before he went to bed for the night. It was late at night and very dark when Merritt burst into the room to shake Haram awake. He was greatly excited. It took a moment before Haram could understand what he was saying. "Saradin's band is in the city, and they want me to join. They want me to join them." Okay, I don't know. Um, so far, I'm intrigued by the story. I'm not sure how the rest of the story is going to go, but so far, it's got me. I like the tale of the two friends, so we will see where it goes from there. I know a little bit of where it goes because I read the synopsis, which I wasn't going to read to you guys because it has like the synopsis goes from like beginning to the exact end. Pardon me, which kind of spoils things if I'm trying to read it too as a story as well. So, but I think I also want to use this time after I've read a chapter to kind of take my take on it on the story so far. The story so far seems fairly solid to me. I'm interested to see where it goes. Um, Especially now that Merritt's been given an opportunity to go with this really, really prestigious adventuring band. Like, what will happen? And you know what? We will find out tomorrow. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you sitting here and listening to me tell a story. Um, I will talk to you all again very soon. That'll be tomorrow. um, Sometime around, like anytime between 5 and 7. Just kind of keep an eye out. Um, I would put out these a schedule, but really it's every night. Just keep an eye out. I'll, everyone will get pinged when I go online. Theoretically, that's what happens. um, but yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will talk to you all again tomorrow night. Uh, have a good night.